Hey cinema fans, welcome back to another movie review. Today we got John Wick. So with all the familiar plot elements in this film, it knows when to step back, pretty much essentially let Keanu do his thing in this film, and let the impressive fighting and gunfights in this film play out the whole film. The directors found a way for all the deadly encounters in this film to be fresh and interesting and a new way of storytelling in an action set film. Now, I will say that this film definitely caters to a certain type of audience, kind of like what I did for the Pearl Harbor film. It definitely stays more on the action side than the plot side. It has basically, it's a revenge tale, pretty much, with little of consequences, more of just, I'm gonna get you back for what you did. But the simple plot is enough to drive you as an audience viewer to relate to Keanu Reeves' character and want to see him succeed in this film. Which, again, this film does a great job of telling that and convincing you as the audience viewer to really be in love with this character and the reasons why he tries to seek out revenge. And you'll be rooting for him to the end of the film. The acting is on point across the board, from the heroes to the villains of this film, and Keanu Reeves does his thing. Honestly, if you think back, this film really saved Keanu Reeves' career, because no one really was talking about him until this film came up in 2015, I believe. And yes, he was part of the Matrix, but this film was definitely a saving grace for Keanu Reeves' career. The music is okay. It's nothing to really go crazy about. I think later sequels do a better job with the music and the score, but this film is kind of But overall, this film, I would definitely give it a solid 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and follow for more. So fans, welcome back to another movie review. Today we got John Wick Chapter 2. This film is an anecdote of a overly elaborate action set film. Chapter 2 definitely doubles down on the action and the mythology of the first film that was laid out in the first film. This is an excellent follow-up to the first film that was so great in the action and the mythology of that, and it really is the embodiment of what an action film is in a modern era. Now, it doesn't subvert its own genre. It really never intended to. In actuality, it actually celebrates it and loves it with its own little charm and style to it, sprinkled in with a little skill and devotion. Now, I will say, like I said in the first film, when it comes to the plot is pretty simple, and I think the action does more of the work than the plot, which it does in the first film, and that's fine for this type of genre. The film knows what it wants to be, and the whole trilogy knows what it wants to be, and we'll get into that in the third film review. But this, again, it's not supposed to be, like I said, even for the Michael Bay review for Pearl Harbor, is that it's its own thing, and it knows that, and it, if not, embraces that, which a lot of films struggle to do so, where they want to be what it sets up itself to be, but it never embraces it, while John Wick in the trilogy does that very excellent and beautifully. Now, I will say the score does step up a little bit than the first film, but again, I think the third film is where it hit peaks when it comes to scores. But overall, this is just a fun action, brutally action type film. Honestly, sets a standard for most action modern films today. I have to give this film a 8.2 out of 10. Now, it's nothing greater than the first one or lesser, but the only reason why it gets a little bit higher score because it doubles down what really made it so great in the first place. Thank you for watching, and follow for more. Hey cinema fans, welcome back to another movie review. Today we got John Wick Chapter 3. Like I said in the first two films, with the mythology and the action, it triples down in this film. And but I have to say, in the third film, I find the plot to be more interesting and more thicker than the first two films. I would say with this trilogy, it's like a roller coaster. It starts off at the top, then it goes down a little bit, but that's just because it wants to focus on what makes it great in the first place by doubling down on the action and the mythology. But the third film, it goes up not because of the action, because the action stays where it needs to be. In a way, it finds its own balance, and the plot gets more thicker. And honestly, from what I've seen for John Wick 4, it looks like they do the same thing like they did in the third film. I mean, from the brutality, from the slickness to the sleekness, it's like you're watching James Bond, but Keanu Reeves. But at the same time, it feels like you're watching Taken with Keanu Reeves. In a way, you see where I'm going with this? It takes what action films and why they're so great, and it really just smears it down into the third chapter of the John Wick trilogy, while taking the plot and making it more thicker, more nuance, more creativity, and honestly, great storytelling. Me personally, I think John Wick Chapter 3 is my personal favorite. I mean, I love the original one. The second one is great, but the third one finds that balance. I feel like because, the first one had that plot, but it wasn't all the way there. The second one definitely took a nosedive with the plot, but this one, it found that balance and really leveled it out for John Wick Chapter 3. And like I said, for the first and second one, the score for this one is peak. I think the score is great in the third chapter. Not to say the score for the last two weren't great, but the third one definitely delivers at home. All in all, this film is definitely a home run for the John Wick trilogy and for its own film. I mean, you can look at it, it's not even a sequel or a threequel. It is its own film. And the acting is even, I don't know what it is. It's like they took everything that was great about the first two and made it 10 times better, while making everything that wasn't so good for the first two films and made it 10 times better. I could say that all day long, but it's just, I love this film. And the acting, the score, everything about this is a classic. Honestly, this is the best one out of the trilogy. And for that, I have to give it an 8.8 out of 10. And I'm definitely looking forward to what they do for John Wick 4. Thank you for watching, and follow for more.